What do you get when you mix wartime Britain? A military camp full of quick-witted women.
I'm not awake yet. That's what they bank on. All I can say is they must get up jolly early over there.
A flustered officer and a surprise visit from a German pilot.
I'm going off to buy myself a bowler hat.
Oh, did we miss it?
You get Operation Bullshine, a cheeky, chaotic and utterly British comedy from 1959 that marched straight into the hearts of cinema goers across the UK.
Do I have to tell you that the about turn commences on the right foot? Left, right.
Today, we're digging into one of the most popular British films of its year, a military farce with a title that already raises eyebrows.
Symbolising the HS.
Though, the Bullshine was a cleaned-up version of what soldiers really called all that over-the-top military fuss.
My papas have gone. You've got a button. No, that went yesterday.
And despite its tongue-in-cheek name, Operation Bullshine was a box office success, proving that audiences in post-war Britain were more than ready to laugh at the madness of military life.
Something I want to ask you.
Oh, yeah?
Do you like pigs?
What a funny question.
So, let's head back to the late 1950s, when war films were everywhere.
Target identified friendly, sir.
Blast! Rest!
But this one dared to swap the battlefield for a mess hall full of mischief,
In case the alarm does go off, just remember, never lose sight of your slides.
mistaken identities, and a lot of very capable women in uniform.
What does it matter as long as you get round?
Cut out the girlish giggles.
Our story begins with Lieutenant Gordon Brown, played with perfect posh fluster by Donald Sinden,
You haven't been on the site for 5 minutes and you start throwing yourself at the first nitwit you clap eyes on.
Yes, sir.
who gets reassigned to an anti-aircraft battery during World War II. The twist? This battery is staffed almost entirely by members of the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the British Army's women's branch.
Splendid. Coming right into the firing arc.
That alone sets the stage for some classic gender role comedy, but the real spark. His wife, Private Betty Brown, played by the sharp and ever-watchable Barbara Murray, ends up being posted to the very same unit.
It's frightfully bad for discipline.
What absolute nonsense, darling.
A military no-no, since husbands and wives weren't supposed to serve together, and from that mix-up comes a chain reaction of chaos.
How did you get?
14 days.
Still, I bet it was worth it.
Betty, understandably, isn't too thrilled to find her husband surrounded by women like the spirited Private Marge White,
Expensive tasting cigarette. Oh, they're for killer. Cost me a week's pay, but it'll be worth it just to see his face light up.
played by blonde bombshell Carole Lesley,
Can you keep a secret?
Shouldn't think so. Why? Killer's got leave too.
and the ever-cheeky Private Cox,
What, like this? That's asking for it.
brought to life by comedy legend Dora Bryan.
What, and catch me death?
While Lieutenant Brown is all business, Betty suspects he might be mixing a little too much pleasure with duty.
Whose? I don't know. Killer's, of course. Got to give it back to him, haven't I?
Of course, things quickly spiral. Brown tries to take some leave to spend time with his wife. The letter he writes to Betty goes astray thanks to Gunner Slocum. Misunderstandings and mix-ups follow, with Private White managing to get a 24-hour pass instead, following Lieutenant Brown onto the train.
Are you meeting anyone in town?
I'm not sure.
Betty goes AWOL, desperate to catch up with her husband.
All alone, darling.
Betty.
Surprised to see me.
Oh, yeah.
The Browns' quiet night at home quickly descends into chaos.
Not now, I'll explain later.
Private White shows up, believing that Lieutenant Brown is home alone,
And I think of how you wormed yourself around me, just so you could swipe him from under my nose.
and still unaware he's married to Betty.
Betty and I are married.
That's a good one.
And if that wasn't enough, Major Pym, played with classic deadpan charm by Naunton Wayne, also turns up unexpectedly.
Don't hang about, Brown.
Let's just say decorum doesn't last long.
It's not nearly as bad as it looks, sir, honestly.
From where I stand, it looks bad enough to have you cashiered.
Cut to the next day at the camp. Everyone's cleaning, polishing, and pretending things are much more organised than they actually are, because the Brigadier is on his way.
Morning. Where's the battery commander?
On the parade ground, sir, 120 yards further on.
He's played by John Welsh, and he arrives to find a seemingly flawless unit,
Well, I'm glad to meet one of the backroom girls for a change. Allow me.
until he catches Mr. and Mrs. Brown kissing in the kitchen.
Helping my wife with the washing up, sir.
Oh, wife?
Wife?
Yes, sir, we're married.
Just as the reprimands start flying, so does the real enemy.
Number 2 gun ready for action. Number 3 gun ready for action. Number 4 ready for action. Guns ready for action, sir.
The air raid siren goes off, and the German Luftwaffe is making a surprise visit of its own.
Target diving!
Suddenly, all the camp's parade ground theatrics give way to real action.
We've hit it!
The women rush to the anti-aircraft gun and manage to shoot down a German plane.
It's the first time we've hit anything in 2 years.
The pilot, who parachutes to the ground,
Look, he's bailed out.
looks surprisingly pleased to be captured by a group of smiling,
I got him.
sharp-shooting British women.
Wait for me.
Talk about an unexpected warm welcome. It's the kind of moment that captures the whole spirit of the film.
Wonderful to have you here.
Thank you. Killer.
Poking fun at authority,
You anything better to do?
flipping traditional roles, and spotlighting the unsung contributions of wartime women with a good dose of British irony.
Hostile on the board, sir.
Go on, I'm coming.
The cast really makes it sing. Alongside Sinden and Murray, you've got the ever-reliable Ronald Shiner
Oh, I was glad to be able to do you that little favour, sir.
Yes, Slocum, I am very grateful.
as the comical Gunner Slocum, whose delivery and timing are as reliable as a well-oiled rifle.
I see quite enough. Come on, let's have a look. Take that thing off.
Here, are you having me on?
Shiner was already a huge draw for audiences in the 1950s, and his scenes, especially the ones involving minor mischief and military nonsense, were big laugh-getters.
Go on, lovely, off you go. Give 'em all you got.
Then there's Fabia Drake as Junior Commander Maddox, who tries valiantly to maintain order among the ranks.
Nobody takes anybody's word in the army. Write a letter to Miss Godfrey stating all the circumstances and give it to Sergeant Merrifield.
And Peter Jones as Gunner Perkins, bringing that signature dry delivery.
About the armament, there's 4 main points to look for. There's here, and these here, and here.
As for the filming itself, Operation Bullshine was shot at Elstree Studios, one of the most iconic locations in British cinema.
The clerks,
Yes, sir.
don't bang the door.
While much of the film was set in and around a fictional training camp, the sets were dressed to mirror real ATS facilities.
Brigadier's going to be here in half an hour to inspect the site.
Released in 1959, Operation Bullshine was a hit.
Have a nice ride home, dear. Super.
In fact, it was the 10th most popular film at the UK box office that year.
I couldn't get away from the Brigadier.
Is that gonna matter? Leaving me to carry the cam while you're whooping it up.
Kinematograph Weekly called its performance better than average, and even Variety acknowledged its success across the pond.
What? Opson's choice, voice.
I'm just at the nearly accusing men of it. What
are you talking about? I won't get you out of trouble.
It tapped into something audiences clearly wanted, a look back at wartime life that wasn't gloomy or tragic, but full of farce, wit, and affection.
Knew I'd seen that face before. Got another of them. Have you got the rest of the battery in there?
No, sir, but he's expecting them.
People who lived through the war recognized the little truths behind the jokes.
I'm glad I stayed on for that dance last night. It does one good to mix with these young people.
Yes, sir.
While younger viewers just enjoyed the fast-paced comedy and lovable characters.
Now run along back to camp. And that's an order.
It's also a great time capsule. The war was still fresh in the national memory,
They'll lock up our boyfriends, girls. The man-eater's back.
Don't worry about your men, dear. I never eat corned beef.
but films like this shifted the tone from stoic heroism to spirited satire. Of course, it doesn't dive deep into wartime trauma, and its portrayal of the ATS is played for laughs more than realism.
Now, can we smoke them? No. And you can't knit either.
If you've never seen Operation Bullshine, it's well worth a watch, not just for the laughs, but for a look at how Britain was beginning to tell stories about the war with a little more levity and a lot more humanity.
Oh, Slokey.
So next time you're in the mood for vintage British comedy, skip the more obvious picks and give Operation Bullshine a try.
Get cracking and keep your mind on the job.
You'll get a stellar cast, a fast-moving plot, and just the right balance of uniforms, uproar, and unexpected unity. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoyed this dive into forgotten cinema gems, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know your favourite classic British comedy in the comments. Until next time, keep your boots polished and your tea hot.
Meet me by the incinerator at 11:30.
But darling, where is the incinerator?
Ask someone.
All right. Where is the incinerator?